There's one mistake I see over and over again from authors across every budget, every genre, and even every publishing path. It's not what the cover looks like. It's not the price point. It's not even when the book launches. It's this: they publish the book first, and they haven't even tried to find the audience for the book. It's backwards, and it's quietly killing your book sales at a scale that most authors can't recover from. If you don't have an audience completely set up before your book comes out, you're not preparing for a launch. You're preparing for a release, and a failure release at that. The release will go unnoticed. Here's what we know about how books actually sell. According to BookScan data, which BookScan, if you don't know it, it's one of my favorite places ever. If you want to know more, contact me. I'll tell you what to do with BookScan. It's a site that helps you find sales of any book imaginable from probably 1995 on, maybe 2000, I don't really know. But according to BookScan, most books sell the majority of their books in the lifetime the first 90 days of its release. And after that window closes, the algorithm completely resets. The retailer attention just moves on. And your book is now competing against 3.5 million other titles published that same year. And what's great about it is that you've had this amazing launch. But after that 90-day window, for many books, it really is just 2 weeks. It's not 90 days. And if you're not prepared, it sneaks up on you, and it's really, really hard to make it a big splash if you're not prepared for that hide and seek game. You do not get even a second impression, let alone a first, with a launch that's not prepared. If you publish to an empty room, meaning no email list, no audience, no pre-sales, no reviews at all, you really have burned the most powerful window of this launch. Now, again, there's places that you can recover, but really those 90 days are crucial. Launches have momentum and they have buzz. Most people, you really want to have people waiting on it. Releases have a product and a hope. And it's really, again, if you're thinking about these big launches and then thinking about a release, it's not a good combination when you just think you've got this idea. Launches have heavy, heavy excitement around it and reviews, and it takes a lot of preparation. And that's where you come in. This is a 6 to 9 month window of preparation, even sometimes a year before the book comes out. And that doesn't mean you're writing the book and you're maybe putting together an audience. You have the book finished, then an entire year to prepare for the book launch. So this is just like almost starting a conversation about the book, not necessarily only talking about the book, starting a conversation about you. I actually have an author that we've helped in the past, and she's had several book launches now, but her first book launch was a crucial time. And we had 3 months and it was touch and go. And luckily she was able to recover because she had major businesses that helped support those resources. But what if you don't have those resources? You've got to start the conversation somewhere, build the email list, building those relationships with people who will buy the book, recommend it, share it with others, review it, do content, anything. This launch day becomes this big celebration instead of something that you're dreading because you're so afraid of it. Talk about your concept before it even comes out. It's okay to share what the book is and what the concept is before it's even a book. It's the most important time to promote it during those first 90 days. But before you even sell the book, really talk about building the audience. The hardest conversation I've had to have is basically between 3 months to 6 weeks after a launch. So 6 weeks to 3 months. Actually, there's a few hard conversations. Let me talk about two. One hard conversation is the preparation from about 3 month mark before your book comes out to about 6 weeks. This is when you're pulling your hair out. You're so exhausted. You don't know what you're doing. Can you imagine not having an audience, not being prepared, not knowing what you're doing with your book because you're scrambling 3 months before? it's really hard to recover from. And honestly, it gives me more gray hairs than I already have. If you are prepared in those 3 months times, in the 3 month window between 6 weeks, you've got enough time to prepare. The other hard conversation is really 6 weeks after the launch. It's almost like the excitement has faded. The sales are not dwindling, but they're staying steady. The social posts are kind of done. The luster of the excitement, enthusiasm of the first kind of time of your book launch is kind of faded. And everyone keeps refreshing their sales page, right? They're like, what the numbers, the numbers. What about my numbers? Really, do you even understand what your numbers are? Do you have an understanding and a gauge of what is success? If you're not prepared for this audience and for the launch, you're not going to even know what you're looking at when you're looking at the sales 6 weeks post launch. So these conversations that I have are an ongoing championship of why and how we do our job. And so you can really focus on how you promote. The thing is though, is that if you're not knowing what your horizon is, the horizon's going to keep moving. If you don't know your goal of what you want this book to be, you don't really know what's going to happen with the book. So before the book comes out, really work on that preparation. With regard to a smaller audience, I actually have a memoir from an author that came out 10 years ago, and the author had a very small platform, but she did a few key things to get her platform, to get her audience and her friends. She didn't have a big audience, but to get her friends to help. She worked at a local magazine, and this local magazine was able to connect her into the syndicate. And the syndicate then got her connected in to advertisers. And the advertisers were then able to, with some budgeting and maybe some trading, were able to get her to have the book being advertised over 35 different weekly magazines. And that put her on the bestseller list. So imagine what you can do if you don't have an audience. But if you don't plan, then that took 3 months to put together. If she wouldn't have planned that ahead of time, who knows where the book would have been. And it became a huge international bestseller. So let me tell you about the other side of it. You know, that's about the preparation with a smaller launch. But I have an author who spent 2 full years building her launch. The year one of her launch was just to get her name out because no one knew who she was. She had a modest platform, but she knew that she had to get her name out first because she wanted to be the number one motivational speaker in her category. So what she did was she hired a publicist and had the publicist help her get her name infiltrated into all of the trades that she was in her industry. Then after that, year two. Year two was her finishing her manuscript and sending it on to her publisher. And so now we had a book title. She was ready to start talking not only about her name, but her book. And so the book started building and building. People knew who she was. The media was already ready and ripe for her. And she was able to start talking about the book. And this was pre-sales, marketing, positioning. And at that year three mark, 2 years after we started working with her in planning this launch, she became a bestseller. 2 years. Most people, again, if you're not persevering enough and you don't have the understanding of building the audience or seeing what you're trying to do with the audience, would have really stopped because there were times in that 2 year program or 2 year understanding, she didn't know what she was up to. She didn't know what she was planning on doing. And so that's to motivate you. That's not to deter you from saying, oh my gosh, I don't have a platform and my book's coming out in 2 weeks. It's okay. Now, again, if you don't even have time to spend a year building your audience because your book is ready now, I understand because I'm fast and I know it's a hard thing to do to slow down. But here's what I want to offer you if you feel like you don't have time to build your audience. You don't have to build the biggest audience. You just have to build one that really wants to support you. Imagine 500 people who are exactly your right readership. That is worth 50,000 Instagram followers at least. Imagine someone who kind of casually reads through your posts, but you have a 500 email list. Again, sometimes email lists don't work in your favor because you don't know what you're emailing them. Why would a memoirist write, notes to 500 of her contacts? But you never know what those people can do for you and how they can help you. 500 people who open your emails and share your content and help you support the book in some sort of way. They pre-order it. I bet you have more than 500 contacts in your phone. Who knows what you could do with that within a little bit amount of time? This algorithm needs to take you seriously. And so you need to really feed it in order for it to feed you back. So pick a lane, social media, email list. Don't have to focus on everything, but pick one that you feel like you can really nurture and build that platform out so that you don't feel like you are so bogged down by and overwhelmed by so many other things that you could do. Pick a lane, dig deep, stick with it, and listen to what they are telling you after you're sharing content with them. So again, you may not need 2 years, but you definitely need more than a day. So really work hard to build this out. Really, 90 days is a minimum. 6 months is better. 2 years could be great. Again, does that feel like exhausting? Yes. However, the quality of the audience really does help when you're trying to get this book built and getting your message out. So I want to talk about 90 days, right? Because I think 90 days feels great because 2 years feels overwhelming, I would assume. Because to me, again, a lot can happen in 2 years, and you don't know what would happen with your book in the next 2 years. But here's what I want you to think about in these 90 days, right? I think of things in 30s. I don't know why, threes and 30s. So let's think about this in a 90-day prescription, pre-launch prescription. Day 1 through 30, find your reader. Where does that exact reader already gather? Where do they live? Are they in podcasts? What are they reading? It's almost like my audience thing that I talk about in Author Descent. Same situation. Who is your reader? Where are they? Conferences, Facebook groups. What are they devouring? How are they able to really feed into what you're already talking about? And how can they dial in with you? Go be a guest on some platforms, on some podcasts, show up at different conferences, be useful in areas that you think you can do. Don't pitch the book yet, though. Again, in this 30 days, just warm up to the idea. This is even going in your contacts and just start sifting through, texting people, reconnecting. This is not talking about anything, just reconnecting with people. Be a part of the conversation. And so let's think about the next 30 days, 30 through 60. Why don't we start building an inner circle? So again, if you don't have an email list, start with one. You never know what you can do with your contacts in your phone if you don't try. So offer something to them when you reach out to them. Again, why are you reaching out to them? Well, send them a text and then get their email address, build that list, talk to them, see what they would take for maybe talking about helping you out with your book, or maybe reaching out with them to see if you can do a trade. Maybe it's to get them to read your book. Maybe it's to help them do a free training or a quiz, or getting them to do a review. Just try to figure out something useful for you, but also helpful for them. And so let's think about the next 30 days. Let's really prime this launch. So this is when you're really starting to talk about the book. You're taking that existing list. You're taking the people that you've warmed up to. Start really getting in some bulk sales. Look at, like, again, if you're thinking about incentives, maybe you can't get up to 50 sales per friend, but maybe they can do 2 sales per book or per person, right? So if you have 500 contacts in your database, maybe you can get every single person to buy more than one book, right? So see what you can do with that. But go into launch day knowing that you've got a little bit more of a platform and understanding about what you want this book to be, and also what you want the reader to get out of the book. This will help you be clear on how you want to build your platform. So when you go into your launch day, you're not flailing around. You're clear on, again, maybe 90 days, working through your contacts, getting them excited about something, and then actually asking them to do something. I would definitely, in this time, make sure you have at least 50 reviews. Again, if you have less, that's fine, but try to get 50 reviews and at least 100 pre-orders confirmed, because that is truly what a launch is all about. You don't want to have just a product. You want something successful that lasts forever, and it's never too late to start. Even if your book came out 2 years ago, work hard to get the platform primed for something else that you're going to be talking about. Take a refresher about the book. Maybe read the book again. It could help you. Build your platform, build your name. And if you feel like you're underperforming, reframe it in your mind thinking that, no, I don't even know what's going to be expected of me yet. I'm just going to work a little bit longer and maybe it takes a little time, but I know where I'm going. There's a moment here even with your platform first that like a non-negotiable for me would be just keep going. Don't stop because you never know who you're going to impact and it's probably going to be yourself. If any of this resonates with you, I have so many tips about how to help launches. Author's Ascent is a great place to start. So check out authorsascent.com. I do have a 90-day pre-launch checklist. If you want to comment, I can help you with that as well. And I'll see you on the next video.